Welcome to Spiritual Vacancy, the space where we stop running from the void and start filling it. I'm Brooke Ann, I'm a professional psychic medium, and in each episode we dive deep into the practices, stories, and insights that turn spiritual hunger into spiritual wholeness. If you've been feeling like something is missing, you're in the right place. Let's fill the gap together, and your journey starts now. Hey, good morning, wherever you are listening in at. Welcome to the podcast. Today I have a special guest. Her name is Dhara, and she is from Inner Quest Astrology. I actually met Dhara in Greenville at the spiritual event I did this April. I think it was in April. And we connected and we've kept in touch. And I've been really excited to hear her story, talk about her astrology and all of her offerings because she actually does astrocartography as well, which is always a tough one to say. And so welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I know, I'm so excited. So you actually live in Greenville.
Yes.
Yeah, Greenville, South Carolina, in case anyone's listening. And so that was a convenient, big psychic mediumship event for you because you didn't have to go too far.
Not at all. It was like
No,
a 12-minute drive.
I'm jealous. But I'm so glad that we connected. You were a couple tables down from me. And I wish I would have got a session with you, and I'm sure vice versa, but we were so busy working. That was one of the busiest events that I've been
Yes.
to in a very long time. With that many guests there, I evidently was needed in that community.
Yes. Yeah. And there was a hunger for it. I don't think that a lot of us realized how many people were going to show up both those days. And as you say, we were working from the doors opening until the doors closing. People were filing in, which was beautiful and refreshing to see that people felt welcomed by this space. And it was remarkable.
And you know what I love too? Everybody was so kind.
Yes.
My husband goes, you know what? Everybody was so patient, so kind with that many people in a space. All of the guests were just absolutely lovely. I was like,
Yes.
wow, it was awesome. So
Uh-huh.
you do astrology.
I do.
Yes. So tell me kind of about a little bit about your story. Like, how did you get into doing astrology?
Well, when I was 18, so a long time ago, I'm now 48, so a long time ago,
Girl, that was
my
like last
mom,
year. That was last year.
5 minutes ago,
Yeah.
my mom brought me to an astrologer. I grew up outside Chicago, and my mom had met this woman who did astrology, and she said, I think you should do this. And so I went and had a session and really liked it. I formed a bond with her. And so, to be honest, there's kind of a part of me that goes, doesn't everybody have an astrologer? Like, it's been a part of my life for so long that I kind of forget that not everybody has an astrologer. I didn't, go to her all the time, but I had a relationship with her for many, many years. And then she retired to Mexico. So I would do my sessions with her remotely. And then unfortunately, in 2014, she passed away. And so I worked with a few other astrologers in the interim, but nobody I sort of gelled with in the same way. And then um, right around pandemic time, just like so many people who found things all of a sudden when they had time, because I was a middle school teacher and we were off for a while. I mean, we were teaching remotely, but you still all of a sudden had some time. And I checked out every book from the library on astrology and just wanted to deep dive in and learn more. And then found myself hooked. And so started taking classes, and Zoom had opened up so many opportunities for
Yeah.
people at that time. And so I actually, the first teacher I studied with was in London. And it just turned into something that had been a part of my life, but then I wanted to get below the hood, if you will, and I wanted to learn more about it. And then as I learned more about it, I said, I want to share this. And so then I started practicing, opened up my business, which just had its fifth birthday. Um,
Congratulations on your 5-year anniversary. That's awesome.
And so I've just been loving it. And it started off just with one-on-one clients, and then it turned into some workshops, which I loved bringing people together. And I'd have everybody's color printed chart with them, and then I would teach them how to unpack the big three that we call them: your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign. And then that moved into things like the Blue Lotus Spiritual Festival where we met, and then that opened up doors to people would have me to their homes and sort of in-home events. And so, yeah, and just lots of education with groups of people just interested in learning more. And so, yeah, it's like retreats. I've done some retreats. I actually then I did my yoga teacher training, my 300 level in India. And so
Wow.
there were students from all over the world, and I did readings with every single one of them while we were there.
Wow.
And then I was in Bali last year in February, and the the yoga teacher training school called Yoga Trotter that I was had been in India with, they were in Bali. So I was able to be kind of a guest astrologer with those students and did readings with those students, and just have found that that's a really fun space to be in. So I've just been really open to where it's taken me, and just whoever finds me, whoever needs me. And it's just been such a blessing to get to work with people on this capacity. And I love it.
That's awesome. So are you still a teacher?
No, I
No.
retired from teaching.
Okay.
I loved my middle schoolers to bits,
Right.
but yeah, it was time after 20 years. I stepped away from the K-12 classroom. So my middle schoolers, yeah, I left them behind, but man, they are amazing to work with. I know not everybody loves that age group, but I certainly do.
Yeah. I was gonna say I have a lot of teacher friends, and so I love that you went from because you were an English teacher, correct?
Yeah.
And so you did that for 20 years, retired, and is that were you already starting to do the astrology while you were still teaching, like you said, because it kind of went on Zoom and COVID, and so you were already kind of like diving in as you were finishing up your career, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
would just do it in the evenings and on the weekends and when I could. And so so yeah, it was definitely a lot to be teaching all day and then doing my astrology on the side. But astrology just fills my cup so much that I was willing to do it, wherever and whenever I could. And yeah, it's so incredible. It's
Oh,
just being
yeah.
able to work with people on that capacity.
I love how it flowed too, because I also bet that the woman that you would go to is probably really proud of you, seeing your development even from the other side of how you kind of dove into it and probably took a lot of the things she used or how she practiced since you compared her to others and be like, not really. It's just not clicking. And so it's, you're kind of doing it in honor of her as well, I'm sure.
Yes, and that's a beautiful way of putting it. And she had told me throughout the years, just based on some of my astrological placements, she said, astrology is something that could be a part of your life. And, when you're an astrology client, you're like, yeah, well, astrology is a part of my life because I go see you. But then when I was like, oh, wait, maybe this is a way in which I can share some of my knowledge with others. And as a lifelong educator, I mean, I love being a teacher. And so I look at my astrology work as educating people
Yeah.
and empowering people because it's all about energy. And I feel as though knowing the energies of your birth chart and understanding how energies impact you, and the fact that all of the planets and the different celestial bodies are constantly acting on us all the time. And so having that as a tool in your toolbox for how to navigate this very challenging life that we have. It's just a chance to interpret those energies, understand those energies, and because we have an energetic blueprint. And so
Mhm.
astrology allows us the insights into that. And I'm actually doing a workshop in a couple of weeks, having parents look at their children's birth chart
Oh,
because
okay.
being able to net because it's your own self-realization and actualization and understanding, but also delving into the realm of parenting and what happens if you're like, why are all my kids Legos in color order lined up beautifully on the windowsill, and then another one of my kids' room looks like a disaster area, and it's like, where are the unique little bits and pieces? And so it's such a fun exploration into what makes people tick, what your unique challenges are, what your unique gifts are. And it's just such an honor to be able to do that with people.
Yeah, I wish I would have known about you like when my son was younger. Be like, what is going on with him? He is a mess.
I
I need
know
Dara.
my husband was joking with me because I'm calling the workshop Understanding Your Child Through Astrology, but my husband said, "Why don't you just call it What's Up with My Kid?"
Pretty much, because that's what we think as parents. Like, what is happening here? Like, what is going on? What is wrong
Yes.
with you? Are you okay? What's That's awesome that you offer that service too. So now you do yoga too. When did the love for yoga come in?
I've been practicing yoga for on and off for probably about 20 years,
Oh
but
wow.
a regular practice for the past, I guess, probably 4 years. And
Okay.
then I found it to be so just pivotal to my mental health, my physical health, and just
Mhm.
spirituality as well that I did my 200 yoga teacher training, and then all these really interesting things fell into place for me to do my 300 in India. And so I did that. But yeah, my yoga practice is very important to me. And the teaching that I do is for people, I call it in my head kind of yoga for people who don't think they can do yoga. Um,
Oh, I need
the
that.
majority of people I work with are seniors. And so the class is a little bit slower and a little bit, more modified. And we have lots of props, having blocks and bolsters. And if you need a chair, or if you need to be near a wall for balance, or so it's seniors and or people recovering from injury or from maybe surgery or things like that. And so I just, for whatever reason, that's a population that I just adore working with. And so I teach in a studio, I teach in my community, and I teach at Furman University. They have an amazing learning and retirement program called OLLI. So I've been teaching there. I'll be on my 8th term teaching there. And
Wow.
yeah, I love that too. It's just phenomenal. Watching people just grow and evolve in their practice. And I have, students in their 80s who are increasing their flexibility and their strength. And
Mhm.
it's just a wonder to see. You just have to give them the time and space to allow that to happen. And, the camaraderie of the group and the community is wonderful. And everybody is catching up with each other at the start of class. And, there's just, it's a whole
Oh,
thing. And I just love it.
I need you to move closer to the beach. I need that. I'm like, I need to do your senior class. I love yoga, but I have so many pains on my body where it's like I have issues with my wrists, so I can't do all the vinyasas and all the other downward dogs. So it's like if I go to a regular class, I can't do it. But it is something I wanted to know when you started it, because I always find that when people really dive into their spiritual self, or, not even though you've been doing it for 20 years, but then finding the real passion and love for it, it's kind of like when we let go of that corporate world, or your life starts changing more into the spiritual part of your life. That's why I was curious, when did that start? And I love it because your business has been 5 years. You've been, professionally teaching it for 4, right? Is
Hmm.
that correct? Right. I was like, I want to make sure I said that correctly. And it's like that's part of our journey. And I think a lot of people listening can relate to that because yoga is so spiritual and so needed. And it is a part, I feel like it's part of our process when we finally wake up to see things a little differently or shift in our life.
For sure. And starting to tune into what really matters. I think
Mhm.
that we live in a world where it's very easy to be distracted. We're so overstimulated. Everything wants our attention. And so when you take a
Mhm.
step back and you sort of say, where do I actually want to be giving my energy, and where do I want to be giving what deserves my attention? Um, and I think that anything that connects us to the divine, whatever you want to call that, whether you want to call that God, the universe, Mother Nature, spirit. But I think that in essence, that's what we are. We are those beings because we leave everything else behind, right? Like we live in these meat suits and we have
Mhm.
our
Yes,
lives,
me.
but we leave all of this behind. The
Yeah,
only thing you don't leave behind is that connection to the divine, to whatever is greater than what we are, whatever you choose to term that. And so I think that for me personally, as I've gotten older and as I have tuned in more to these various energetic spaces, I'm just going, that is the place where I want to channel my energy.
yeah.
And so that's been my journey. But I
Mm.
agree with you, like as people get older and you start to kind of take a step back and go, what is this?
Yeah. And I need this in my life. So you do astrology and then you added astrocartography
Yes,
after the.
astrocartography has been the most recent addition to my astrology practice. When I was in India, someone asked me, they said, "Do you do astrocartography?" And I said that, I was like, "No, it hasn't really been something that has, come into my life." And then through a very interesting set of just events, I ended up with access to a pretty phenomenal class course, and I took it and I just started playing around. And interestingly, I already had the software that I needed because I
Nice.
had purchased it years ago, but it does way more than just astrocartography. But I didn't even have to like invest in new software or anything. I just had to become reacquainted with software that I just don't use all that often in my practice. And then I just started with, as usual with things like this, you just start with people who are friends and family, and you can just kind of jostle around a little bit and be like, okay, like, does this jive with you? Because it is very
Mhm.
different. It's sort of this idea that, every planet and celestial body and luminary was somewhere when you were born. And so when you imagine that each one of those planets is kind of holding a spotlight in the cosmos, and like the
Mhm.
spotlights are making lines on the earth and they're making different angles. And so astrocartography looks at those angles to see where on earth those different energetic lines are. And so it's a new concept. If that's, I mean, that wasn't something, I wasn't looking around the world looking for different places where people energetically felt in tune or felt very not in tune, or were
Right.
looking to travel to a place for this reason or that reason. I mean, sometimes you want to travel to a place because you want rest and relaxation. Sometimes you want endless activity and stimulation. And sometimes you go because you want to meet new people or fall in love or whatever it is. And so
Mhm.
it's just a new way of looking at astrology. And so I needed some people to just be my guinea pigs and sit down with me and
Yes.
go, okay, like tell me some places in the world you've gone and like how you felt when you were there. And then we'd sort of unpack those and then look at other places that had similar line energies. And so then I become, it's one of those things to study it, but it's another when you're sitting there with somebody who's affirming what you're talking about and you're going, oh my gosh, this is so intriguing. And so then it's just built from there. And I've been, working with clients and bringing people
Cool.
over. But I have to say that it is it's amazing to see like people, and then people like weeks later, they'll be like, do you remember how you said that I have, a line running through like Sri Lanka? And, it's just funny just to see like what stays with people and how
Right.
in the process of doing the astrocartography, it lets people share their stories because where have you, they'll have traveled to a place and they'll share a story about it. And it's just that connection is really fun too. And, people
Mhm.
have the most magnificent stories. And so then, if people are going, okay, I want to go somewhere because I want to have this type of experience. And then you're going, okay, let's look at your maps.
Yeah.
I have an Australian client who recently told
Cool.
me that she's moving. And so we looked at her maps to look at, where she is now versus where she's going because she's writing a book and she wants to make sure she's going to be near a Mercury line because Mercury
Oh.
has to do with communication. So just things like that where um you just are able to dig into the astrological energies in a different way. That's really fun.
Was it good? What if the move was bad, would you be like, don't move, don't do it? If you start looking at a chart like, oh God, girl, don't stay right where you're at. Don't go.
That's kind of the hard part sometimes is because it's sometimes if someone's like, I want to move, where should I
Right.
go?
Yeah.
Versus this is where I'm moving. And
Yeah.
so it's like, but then, it's like energy is energy. It's like
Right.
people will go, is it good or is it bad? Or is this
Right.
placement of this planet good or bad? And it's like, it's just energy. What are you going
Right.
to do with it? And
Yeah.
so, you could say, like, my husband or my spouse or my partner, whoever is, or we need to move to such and such a place. And you find that it's on a really challenging line for that person. And it's like, okay, then what are our coping mechanisms? And what do we ensure we do? And what self care techniques do we have in place? And because a lot of my water signs, my water rising signs, a lot of them need to be near water in order to
Mhm.
feel like they can do the self-care that they need to do. So what happens if your partner gets or you get relocated to the middle of a desert? It's like, okay, well then you look for accommodation
Or
that's
like we're done. Can't do that shit.
of course
Go live your life, bud. Like we're good.
good luck to you in the desert.
Pretty much. I'd be like, you're on your own, dude. Like, not
Yeah,
happening.
yeah, yeah. And then it's like those people will be like, okay, then you live near a place with a good aquatic center where you can go swimming, or you buy a little fountain for your living room, whatever.
Right.
But it's just a fun opportunity to let people explore those energies in ways that they probably haven't before.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I actually posted about astrocartography on my Facebook page, on my business page a while back, and I had no idea until, I read your bio and we talked that you were an astrophotographer, because then I would have contacted you. But I just
Yeah.
did the little free app, but there was so many people that are looking for you or that want, because it's kind of rare what you do. There's not a lot of people that do both. A lot of astrologers out there, but not where you offer both services. So I love that you can tap in and do both of them because a lot of people want to know where should I go? And a lot of times do you find like where people live and they contact you and they're kind of like, I just don't feel at home. Like it just doesn't feel good. It might be like a place where I have to go through a challenging thing to be where I'm meant to be, but they just know like where they're living currently is not it.
Right. Or there's certain things sometimes about just, and whether it's where they're living or whether they'll be like, how come, I went to London and I loved every second of it. And then I went to Rome and I felt totally lost and I never could
Mm,
like gel with the whatever. And
okay.
you're just kind of going, and I didn't feel good versus, you go someplace and you feel so alive and vibrant. And that's
Right.
what I want to know. I want to know, okay, so when you were in London and you felt alive and vibrant, tell me about that. Like, in
Mhm.
what way? Was it because you were going to all these amazing museums and you were stimulated intellectually? Or is it because you went to pubs and you chatted with all of the locals and you loved the like cultural awareness, all these different pieces? Because then if you're going, that's the type of experience I want to have. Like I can look at what lines are near London then for you.
Mhm.
Was that maybe near Jupiter line, which is very expansive and loves new, like new wisdom, or maybe you had a spiritual experience there that was really meaningful. And if you're like, that's what I loved, then we can look at the three other Jupiter lines that you would have somewhere in the world,
Mhm.
and be like, okay, like, have you been to these places? And if not, like, is this the type of thing you would like to explore, the type of place that would be interesting to you? So it's just a chance for people to unpack a little bit and really think about, like, how did I feel when I was in these different places or where I live, or um, it's super, because it's all, again, it's all energy. And so
Yeah.
how do these energies affect you? And
Yeah.
it's been so spot on, the people that I've met with, and I'm just going, this is mind blowing to me. Every time I'm like ignited. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
I love it though. I love that you're excited about what you do because it makes a difference. Like how you're like the way you're talking, and I can feel your energy, and I'm sure everybody listening can feel like the excitement as you're describing like what you do or what you see or diving into your clients' lives too, like what's going on, you know? A lot of times I just kind of pictured someone just reading the chart like, well, you shouldn't live there and you should live here. And this is, because your sign is this, so you should be over here. So I love that you really dive in deep and ask like the real questions. Do you feel good there? Or, how did that make you feel? I think that's
Mhm.
awesome. I think that's a great approach to doing what you do. And I'm sure you do that with your astrology too.
Yeah, yeah.
hmm And then do you want to share a little bit of my chart? You actually did a little bit of my astrocartography
I
before we
did.
logged on.
So I did some of your astrocartography, and then I also had some fun with your chart. Um,
Ah,
Girl, you have some big energy going on right now.
oh, good or bad, good or bad. I'm like,
It's
oh
it's just one of these where I was going, oh wow, like this is an active time for you.
no.
And this is definitely gonna fall into one of these things where I get very passionate and excited, and then I can keep going and going. So you have full permission to be like, Dara, it's time for you to stop.
Dara, I'm gonna go to the next question, okay? No. I'll let you know because I have more questions too that I want to like. I'm just excited. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so do you want to talk about your chart or do you want to talk about your astrocartography?
Whatever you feel like sharing today. I'll leave it up to you.
Okay. Well, I'll start with some chart basics.
Okay.
I'm gonna see if I can screen. Are you okay? Are you private about your birth data? Like, do you
No,
not want your chart on
no,
the? Okay.
no, you can go ahead and share it.
So let's see if I have. Oh, sharing is not turned on. Never mind.
Oh, okay. Well, you just have to listen.
So it's all good. It's all good. So I do have two computers, and I have the computer that I'm talking to you on, and then I have another computer right here. So just in case you're like, what are you looking at? I have your chart like
Okay.
right here in front of me. But so for anyone who is brand new to astrology, so there's the nine planets and then two luminaries. There's the sun and the moon that we look at when we look at somebody's chart. So it's a snapshot in time of the day and the time and the place that you were born. And so that's one thing about astrology that I think some people may not always realize is that you're not just your sun sign. And by that, I mean what you look up when you look up your horoscope. So
Mhm.
if someone's like, oh, I'm a Libra, and you're like, okay, that's one of the 11 celestial bodies that we look at. And that's not even if you're looking at asteroids and other things as well. Like if you're just looking at the basics. And so, because sometimes people will go, yeah, I look up Libra when I look at my horoscope, but it doesn't really gel with me. And it's like, that's because you are much more than just a sun sign. The sun sign is important, don't get me wrong, but it's not everything. And so that's the fun thing about when I bring up people's charts for the first time, if astrology is a little bit of a new journey for them, is realizing how busy it is, how much there is, because you are a very complex, energetic being. And
Mhm.
so we can unpack those things together. But so with your chart, so I know that you have a knowledge of astrology, so you probably know all of this, but the listeners may not
Yeah.
be familiar with all these terms. So your sun sign is Cancer.
Mhm.
I use whole sign system, and but your sun sign is Cancer, and your rising sign is Cancer.
Mhm.
And so what that means is that when Brooke was born, the sign that was rising over the eastern horizon was Cancer. And so the interesting thing though is, and I am not entirely sure um, I have ever seen this, is that your sun and your rising sign are at the exact same degree. Like it's called your ascendant. So the
Oh,
ascendant is what we look at to determine your rising sign, and they are both at 10 degrees of Cancer. And
oh
so
wow.
it's like you can have people that have the same sun and rising, but I was like literally right there. So that was kind of cool. But then, and then your moon is in Libra.
Mhm.
And so, and there's the fun thing about that to me is also there's an Arabic point called the part of fortune that it isn't a planet, but it's something that astrologers tends to like to look at because it's an area of our lives of great blessings. And your moon is at the exact same degree as your part of fortune. And so that's beautiful. And Libra is a beautiful, beautiful sign, like ruled by Venus, ruled by love. And so it was kind of a powerful set of things to just see because when you look at the gifts that you have and the gifts that you choose to share with the world, that the Cancer sign is very nurturing. It's ruled, so it's moon ruled. But I always, you imagine the crab is the Cancer animal, but it's like the crab has a very soft underbelly, so very soft and nurturing, but kind of that hard shell that can be very protective. But you imagine the crab with its arms kind of out in front, and you kind of imagine everything inside that arm space is all of the things that you hold dear, that you hold sacred, like your people and the things that you value. And it's like very loving. Water sign, lots of emotions, lots of feelings in there. But also, you think those pinchers are still there. If anyone threatens what is in that space, those pinchers can come out. And so it's just a very, it's just nurturing. The word that is just such a Cancerian word is nurturing. And so when I was thinking about your mediumship work, it's just kind of this idea that it all comes from this place of nurturing and care and love and wanting to give people the gift of being able to connect with, the beyond loved ones, all these things. And it comes from such a beautiful place because everything there is interconnected, that nurturing, but connected to your moon sign in Libra, Venus,
Mhm.
love, but also Libra is very good at being able to like Libra wants everyone to get along.
Yes.
Libra is not out to like push the buttons and be like,
True.
hmm, can I tick you off if I push there?
Right.
Libra's like, let's all get along. So to me, what struck me there is, you have this area of huge blessing, all this nurturing, all of this like emotional self, but all in the ability to communicate effectively and want to do it in a way that is beneficial. And so, when, and this is me to tell me if I'm speaking out of turn, but it would seem to me as an outsider, I'm not a medium, but if you are going to communicate with people about past loved ones or spirits, entities, that is very powerful and very potentially emotionally um, deep and
Mhm.
jarring, maybe even for people. And
Very.
so, even if somebody has the gifts to do it, not everybody has the gift to be able to speak about it in a way that is compassionate, that is sensitive. Not everybody is maybe ready to hear all of the things that you probably are able to intuit from
Mhm.
the entities that are speaking to you or communicating with you in whatever way they do that. And so if someone isn't ready and you're just plowing forward with all the things, just vomiting out all the information, then that could just be jarring, you would imagine, for the recipient.
Yeah.
So these energies are just so concentrated in not only their nurturing and the love of being able to receive this and to be a safe um, vessel in which for those messages to travel through, but your ability to communicate them in a way that is also nurturing and is
Mhm.
not jarring and is not like rip roaring, here's all the things. And so that just gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, that's spot
And
on. Yeah.
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 And so you just have so much there. But also in Libra, you also have the planet Pluto, which Pluto is about depth and digging in and deep, 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 deep work. And so to have that all in the same place, it's like it actually it's kind of this idea that it wouldn't surprise me if the things that you're able to intuit sometimes are deeper, maybe even than you want them to be.
Oh,
Like,
I'm sure.
like, like, like I don't want to like la la la. I've had enough, please, of that. And so it's like the depth of what is like coming up, and then but having the discernment of being able to say, I'm sharing this, I'm not sharing this,
Yes,
or maybe in
that
a
is.
future session, if questions are asked, I can approach that. But it's like all of those things working together, but the gift of having access to it. But if I, but the one thing I would say, you didn't ask my advice, but I'm just gonna say, and is that there is so much depth and emotion here that I would say, like your tools for self-care are critical for you. And
Yeah.
I'm guessing at this point in your career, you already know your tools for self-care because you wouldn't be as successful as you are if you just expended all your energy and were like lying in a heap on the floor. You clearly are
Yes.
not. Like you're
Some
doing
days I
these
am,
amazing,
Dara. Some days,
you're
if it's been a rough week, I'm like, I just want to go to bed and cover up and like not look at the world.
if that's what you need to do, then that's what you
Yeah.
need to do, right? But you know that as opposed to
Yes.
just, oh, well, I
Yes.
can do one more reading or oh, I could do one more thing.
Oh
It's like,
yeah.
what can you do to like quell all of this? Because you are a reservoir.
Hmm.
And so you're just going, oh my gosh, whatever you need to do in order to like whatever your self-care tools in your toolbox are, just out of curiosity, because Cancer is your rising sign and it's a water sign. Are you like we were talking earlier about my clients who like need to live near water, and I know you live near water, but is that like if you had one of these weeks you were just talking about that are very difficult, would you go walk along the beach for like
Oh,
hours? Is that a type of is that rejuvenating for you?
I've been at the beach almost every night this week, and I walk the beach all the time in the morning. I can walk to the beach from my house, so that's how close we live. And my husband's a surfer, so he has to be by the beach, so it's like a good mix. And
Yeah,
when I lived in California, I was near the coast. I was right on the coast, and then I have to be on the coast here. And I've lived landlocked one time, and I hated it. It was in Utah. I could never do that again. But I like even tonight, we're probably gonna go sit on the beach, bring our chairs. It's like where even for an hour, my soul just I have to have it. There's something about it just replenishes it.
I love that. And
Yeah.
I love that you know that about yourself.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing is that you know that that is a replenishing tool for you. Because having that much water energy is such where it's a puddle you can lose yourself in.
Hmm.
And so, whatever you need to do in order to feel your feet on the ground and to feel balanced and to feel like I love the description of, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Hmm.
And so it's like for you to fill your cup, and if sitting on the beach with your husband and, letting that time be what it is and like fill your cup because that enables you to share your gifts and pour from the cup later. But it is pretty intense. And so
Yes.
but beautiful. Like it's a beautiful set of energies,
It
but yeah,
is.
you have all the feels. Let's put it that way.
I do, that's for sure. So quickly, am I supposed to be here in Myrtle Beach?
It
I
is a
am.
beautiful location for you.
It
So we
is.
look at, and I don't know how, again, you are totally welcome to be like, and stop.
No,
But,
you're good.
but so when we look at the range of miles that people are from different lines, um, some people live like right on certain lines, and then we generally look up to 700 miles away.
Oh.
So there's quite a big orb of mileage. And so you live 131 miles from your Jupiter line,
Oh.
which is great. Like Jupiter is a lovely line, very expansive, lots of opportunities. It's the type of thing where I'd go, when you moved, I don't know if you've always lived in Myrtle Beach, but if you haven't,
No.
it would make me wonder if when you moved there, that is when your career took off. like
Yeah.
lots of opportunity,
Yeah.
lots of
Oh, yeah.
expansion,
Oh,
lots
huge.
of networking, lots of things,
Mhm.
maybe even just falling into your lap,
Mhm.
opportunities. That would be that kind of energy. And it's right on the line. The Jupiter line that it's on is your ascendant, which is the rising sign energy. So that's you. It's that first house
Mm.
energy, self-identity, self, the sense of self. And so it's almost as if the location that you are, you were able to come into your authentic self while you are there. That would be kind of that energy. I don't know. Does that sound consistent to you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because I'm from California, born and raised, but I've lived in Myrtle Beach for 27 years. And the opportunities just kept coming when I came out here, but I was struggling in California my whole life. It just never, like, I couldn't wait to leave. It just was never, I was 19 when I moved out here. So just a different, and I don't miss it. We're going home next month to see all my family because they're still in California. But I know when I get out there, I'm gonna be craving this ocean. I mean, we will be on the coast there, but there's just a difference for me personally where it just feels like home over here. And Boston. I went to Boston for the first time almost 2 years ago, and I had always been drawn there for some reason. I loved it. I could never move there, but I felt something special in Boston. I don't know what it is, and I've been wanting to go there my whole life and just finally made it 2 years, barely 2 years ago, and loved every bit of it,
You
but
should like
definitely
it.
don't want to move there.
Let's
I
see.
couldn't afford it anyways. It's crazy. And the traffic, and there's water there, but it's different. It's not warm.
So interestingly, Boston for you. So there's a line. So there's an asteroid that we look at in astrology, who's not one of the 11 I was talking about. It's an asteroid. It's totally separate. It's called Chiron, the wounded healer. It has to do with kind of the idea that in a past life, something wounded you and you had to overcome that challenge. And so if you believe in the concept of reincarnation or energy, coming with you into different iterations, different lifetimes, that you entered this cycle with the knowledge and the growth that occurred from that wound in a previous lifetime. And so Chiron lines are a thing, and Boston is really close to your Chiron line. So it's kind of a healing energy there. And so it'd be interesting to know if in your time there was some sort of healing that because it's an energy that can be not necessarily like blissful, but
Right.
maybe beneficial in kind of some interesting ways.
Well,
So but I
that's
love that when you
hmm.
said I liked how I felt when I was in Boston. Those are keywords to me. So I'm going,
Hmm.
okay. So, because I don't necessarily go straight to people's Chiron lines. I'm not like,
Right.
oh, but when you're
Right.
like, but wait, I've been
Yeah.
drawn to Boston, and then you're
My
like,
whole
that's
life.
a Chiron line, and then we can look at Chiron lines and be like, what are other places that you might want to visit that might have a similar energy for you?
Yeah. And you did say that could be past life healing too, or past life stuff, which is interesting because my mother-in-law recently delved in, she's very good into genealogy, and a lot of my family, like way back, she found family from the 1400s. Way back then, and they're from a place called New Boston, Connecticut, I think, which is very close. It's like 30 minutes from Boston, Massachusetts. And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God, wonder if that's like part of my why I'm so drawn there. Like I've always wanted to go, but didn't understand why I wanted to go there. So that's interesting. It's like a healing line for me
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
Chiron. That's fascinating. I'm gonna have to book a session with you. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to dive in deeper because I know this podcast, this episode is not all about myself. So I do want to get into more stuff because you're fascinating to talk to. So I have more questions, and I know like people listening want to know too. Okay, so I did read where you do a combination of Hellenistic
Yep.
and modern astrology. So can you quickly describe the different, like what does that mean?
So, Hellenistic astrology is just the tradition that I have found that as I've learned over the years, it's just like one of the astrologers who is amazing in Hellenistic astrology and has a great book if anyone wants to totally nerd out. His name is Chris Brennan. The astrology podcast is his baby, and he is amazing. He has a lot of Scorpio energy, and Scorpios are amazing at digging into things, research, and really impeccable knowledge. And so he is somebody. I love Scorpio energies. I'm very fiery, I'm very Aries. And
Mhm.
so for me so Scorpio energy is kind of my like envy zodiac sign. Like I wish I had more Scorpio in me. But his book and his podcast and just his teachings, he has all kinds of online classes and stuff, taught me about Hellenistic astrology. And so it's just kind of the background of that lineage of astrology is what I subscribe to. And then when it comes to rulerships, what that means is each zodiac sign has a planet that rules it, meaning it's sort of the dynamic of that planet that creates the energy of that sign. So, like we were talking about, your Cancer is ruled by the moon. And so that's like her domicile or her home. And so why we discuss that is because when different planets, so like during the past 2000 years, we haven't had those outer planets like Pluto, for example, is a more modern arrival for us. And so for people who want so like you can look at Scorpio as being ruled by Mars, which is a more traditional rulership, or Pluto as a more modern rulership. And so it's just kind of a matter of which planets you're looking at. And I kind of look at both, to be honest. It is really interesting to see the different energies. And sometimes it's just a matter of working with different clients and realizing that different planets, due to different aspects in their chart, have different energies, different powers that are influencing more so than others. And so it just has to do with which planets we look at in regards to each of those different houses and which ones they rule.
Okay, that's awesome because I have never heard of the Hellenistic.
Hellenistic,
Yeah,
yeah.
never heard of that. So I love that you do a combination of the both. And I also love that you talk in layman's terms, because a lot of astrologers are like, well, this is 5 degrees of this with this, and then you're just sitting there going, okay, what does that mean? And it can get very complicated when someone's talking in terms that we're not familiar with when you book a session. But I love how you break it down into something so easy to understand. And then it
That's
makes
always my goal because you don't want it to feel inaccessible because that's
right,
not the point, right? You're there to make people feel like it's something they can utilize. And for
right,
anybody who's listening to this going, ooh, like I want to go see an astrologer, even if it's not me, if
right.
they book a session with somebody, I highly recommend that people record it, like a video, audio
Oh,
record,
okay.
because if you try and take notes, you're not going to be present. You're not going to be fully present.
Right. That
And
makes
it's
sense.
difficult to intake everything and write down everything. And later on, you might be like, what do these even mean? But if you listen to it, because sometimes astrology, even if you have somebody who can unpack and explain in layman's terms, it doesn't mean that it's not still like drinking from a fire hose, because all of a sudden you're like, wait, Mercury, what? Wait, Pluto, what? And so if you're able to have a little marination time, processing time, and then go back and listen later, it gives you a chance to be like, oh, like when I heard that the first time, I thought it meant this, but really what she said was this. And it gives you an opportunity to then reach out if you have a question. If you're like, hey, there's just one quick thing that you mentioned that I'm wondering if you can clarify, that's really good. But also, it's like a journal. Like I
Yeah.
love going back because, like I said, I started these when I was 18, and my astrologer, I mean, they are CDs.
Yeah.
I think probably my first reading actually was a cassette tape. I think it was a
I believe
cassette
it.
tape, like
I
that I
believe
played
it.
on my boombox.
Girl, we're the same age practically. So like
Yeah,
I
we're
get
like, yeah,
it.
we're
I
you
get
get it.
it. I
You get it. But
understand.
it's like to go back and listen to not only the astrology, but like what I was sharing at the time, like what was important to me. and what I was going through and what I wanted to unpack is actually a kind of a neat, like historical piece for people that they may not realize as well. Because there's the current, like, what am I in right now as far as the
Mm,
energies? There's understanding your natal chart, which is baked in, that doesn't change, but the planets are all in motion all the time. So, how are
right.
current energies? So, you have that, but then you also have kind of this recording of what your current journey is. And then if you listen to it again, whether it's in a month or 6 months or 2 years, and you're going, oh my gosh, I was talking with my astrologer about this potential like job opportunity. And then you can realize, because hindsight's 2020, right? You can be like, oh my gosh, all these different things fell into place that I wasn't even thinking of. And you've
Yeah.
captured all of that in such an authentic way. So I just, anyone who's listening to this going, oh my gosh, I want to do something with an astrologer. And some people prefer in person. And so if that's the case, just, bring in your phone and just hit, voice memos and hit
Yeah.
record. And then you have that as a beautiful, beautiful capturing of that experience.
That's a great idea because I've never thought about that. I either took notes or just kind of listened. I never really, you know, wrote anything down or recorded, but I love that you suggest that so people can re-listen to it and always have it.
Yeah.
And I know I have so many questions for you though. So I'm like, what would be like when you read someone's chart? What would be the most unique chart that you've ever read where you looked at, you're like, whoa, what in the world? Like, this is insane. And you haven't seen it since.
There's two things that happen that are kind of in the more rare department. And number one is when I have a client who, interestingly, is also a medium, but she has almost all of her planets in one house. In one, so like if you imagine your chart is like a pizza,
Yeah.
every slice of the pizza is called a house, and there's 12 houses in everybody's charts, and each house has a different like theme. So like relationships, creativity and children. So you have all these different houses. So almost all of her planets were in the same pizza slice. And it was
Whoa.
like, oh my gosh. And so
What?
it's super interesting, but also
Yeah.
then you're going, it's also a challenge to unpack that because if you have one planet in one of your pizza slices, you're kind of working with the energy of the zodiac sign of that pizza slice, and then you're
Right.
working with that planet. And so it isn't, all of the things. But when you have everything together and you have to tease all of that out, it's super,
Yeah.
super interesting. So that's
Whoa.
it's called a stellium if you have three or more planets in the same house. But when you have like a pile up,
That's a lot.
it's
And
a
she
lot.
has them all in one sign, you mean?
Almost
So,
like not every single one,
right,
but
but
like more than I'd ever seen, like
are they
all
all
in
in
one place.
Pisces or
And
are
they're
they all
all
in?
in they're all in Virgo, interestingly.
Oh, is it Virgo work related and
And
stuff?
so
Or
Virgo
OCD?
is very humanitarian. So there's
Oh,
definitely a
okay.
giving of oneself.
Okay.
Virgo sometimes gets a bad rap because the kind of my favorite catchphrase for Virgo is that Virgo loves a good spreadsheet. And
Yes, that's
so
what's very work related. That's how I see them are OCD. Like
they're
everything's got to be
your
in
they're your
order.
reliable
Yes.
people who are going to
Yes.
show up on time. Like, and actually that's I could have some fun talking about like I know what time people are going to show up for their appointments based on their rising sign because like my Pisces can't get their act together. They're all going to be like 7 minutes late. My Virgos are going to have been parked in the parking lot for 10 minutes before the appointment starts to
Yeah.
make sure they have the correct address. Maybe also my Capricorns would be there. So it's very, very
Yeah.
funny.
And
Um,
Aries, you're in Aries. Aries are on time.
yeah,
Aries
we
are
yeah,
pretty prompt. My son's an Aries, and he's like, if he's 10 minutes late, if he's 10 minutes early, he's late.
yeah. He's like, wait, this is not real.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so her energy is definitely in Virgo. So that's a rare one is when you have a pileup of planets all in the same pizza slice. The other thing is that you're actually not too far away from, but So when you look at your pizza, so you have the upper half of the pizza, you have the lower half of the pizza, and then you have the two sides of the pizza. And so sometimes you have all of the planets either top of pizza or all of the planets bottom of pizza or all
Hmm.
of the planets on one side or the other. And so that's always really interesting because um, basically has to do with where you draw your energy. For you, you have all of your planets except for two below the horizon, so below the lower half of the pizza slice. And so a indication for me, like if I'm working with somebody who has that much energy below the horizon, is just ensuring that you take your time for, like we were talking about self-care before, but almost your time to remove yourself from the world, from the stimulation of the world. If you look at the top of the pizza as being very social, the bottom of the pizza is like home. And so the way I describe it to people is it's make sure you have your blanket fort, the
Yeah.
place where you can crawl in. It's your little blanket fort. You have your M&Ms and you have your favorite stuffy and whatever makes you happy, but you can retreat because it doesn't mean that you don't like people. It
Right.
doesn't mean that you can't be social. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that it's like a little bit of an introversion energy where in order to really recharge your batteries, the stimulation of other people doesn't assist that. Whereas people who maybe have a ton on the upper half are like, they want to go out and have that stimulation because that is what vitalizes them or
Mhm.
revitalizes them. So it's just things like that where it's really interesting to see um, how those concentrations of planets can
Yeah.
affect different people and just unpacking that with them too, because you can have, a super like like a job that involves tons and tons of people, but have the planets below the horizon and hearing people talk about like what they need to do to ensure that they are internally nurtured and not spreading themselves too thin and not giving away too much of their energy. It sort of makes me think of the podcast episode you did about boundaries and
Hmm.
protecting your boundaries and knowing where your limits are and are certain people like not allowed within those boundaries.
Hmm.
And so it's all, all of just in that realm of self-discovery. And there's not a this is right and this is wrong and this is exactly who you are, but like it
Right.
comes down to how have these energies impacted you as a person and what has it made you realize? And then it's almost a lot of people know like intuitively know these things, but it almost gives them an astrological permission slip to like be okay with the fact that I need to be in my blanket fort tonight. I don't want
Yeah.
to be talking to people. I want to be with my snacks and my book and whatever it is. And it's like, yes, that is what you need. And you know that that's what you need. But now they have like the energetic permission slip to
Yeah, that's
actually do
awesome.
that.
I love the way you describe it too, because that's so true, even with myself or how you're like talking about other people. I love the way you dive into the astrology. I really do. How you dissect it and just make it so easy to understand for the person that you're reading, because you're reading my chart, and I absolutely love that. And so what would be like one piece of advice that if anybody's listening that for one, if anybody's listening, book with Dara so you could get your charts read because she's amazing. But what would be one piece of advice if somebody was trying to dive into astrology on their own or in their journey, what that you wish you knew at the time of starting yours?
So I think that if people are just curious and just want to learn, there's so many books out there, and it's like if your local library has astrology books, just dig in, just go and like you can start reading about the foundations. I mean, and it's very complicated. I always,
Mhm.
at the beginning of my workshops, I always say the KISS principle, KISS, for keep it simple, sweetheart. Like start off because people will be like, I don't get it. And it's like, this is 2000 years old. Like there were people studying the stars and the correlations between what was happening astrologically and what was happening, on the earth for like thousands of years. And if people don't understand it in like 15 minutes, they get frustrated. And I think that's
Right.
kind of our world today,
Mhm.
is that we don't necessarily always give ourselves grace for the things that take some time to learn. And
Definitely.
so I would just say digging into, and you don't have to buy the books. You can go to the library, see what resonates. Um, and then then it's just a matter of like learning it because what all the different symbols mean. Everything is symbols, all the glyphs. Each planet has a glyph, each zodiac sign has a glyph. So, and then it's just being patient with that. I think, I would just say investing in an astrology reading with somebody that you trust and that you feel a good vibe from is great. Even if you just want to do one natal chart reading, which just means looking at your birth chart and then taking it from there and just like doing your own thing, that's fine. You don't have to go see an astrologer every month or every however often. That is completely up to each individual, whatever feels right. I have some clients that see me regularly and they want a tune up. They want to know
Mhm.
what's happening astrologically on their chart with all of the crazies that are happening. And so they'll book sessions. Other people, they come for a natal reading and that's that. And then they go on their merry way and, they take their own path. And
Yeah.
so I think that a lot of it, people just need to trust like what feels right to them, whether they want to do the independent research, whether they want to have a reading. And then I would just say that the difficult thing for me is the world of AI. And a lot of pop astrology apps are out there. And I'm
Mhm.
not saying anything is right or wrong, but it's just, um, it's an interesting space to see like what comes out, like interpretations of things. If you plug in your birth data into AI, it'll give you a birth chart. I mean, it isn't hard. I mean, you don't even need fancy software to generate a birth chart, and AI will read it for you. But I've had clients share with me what AI has said, and
Wow.
sometimes I'm like, what? Like, what is happening here? And so I would
I don't
just
like it, AI.
hesitate, like, just be careful. Just like anything to do with the space of AI. AI is our robot or overlords are present. They are there. But it's it's just an interesting space. Our world is very interesting right now. And so I would just say that probably investing in a natal chart reading so you at least know the basics and maybe can get a little bit of the foundation so that then you can take ownership of your own
Mhm.
chart and of your energies. And like, even if you only pay attention a little bit to some things, like maybe it's just the moon cycle. Like for you, the moon is probably hugely impactful for you because you're ruled by the moon. Your sun and your rising are both Cancer. That's the moon. Your moon is in Libra. So for you, actually, I would love to do like lunar returns, like every month when the moon gets to the same position, because the moon just takes 30 days to go around. So it's like we all have a time every month when our moon returns to the spot that it was the day that we were born. So for you, that
Oh,
would be like
cool.
8 degrees, 52 minutes of Libra. So I can just look at an ephemeris and tell you over the next, like, say, 6 months, here's the day each month where the moon is going to be in a really beneficial place for you. And it's a great day for self-care, for re-plugging in your batteries, just like what do I need for myself? It's a great day if you do meditations or prayers for other people, to really send your love out to other people. And so there's just things like that, an astrologer, if you meet with them one-on-one, can really kind of tune you into your own energies. And then if that means in the future you can generate your own lunar return dates by looking at an ephemeris if you learn what one is. So you can be given the power
Mhm.
or the autonomy, but I would just be careful with treading into a space that if you can't double check what you're researching, then it can leave. It's the same with medical stuff in AI, right? Like if you
Yeah.
say, here's my symptoms, sometimes AI is great. They're like, you just need an ice pack and a Tylenol. And you're like, okay, I can double check that with my, neighbor who's a doctor or whatever. But it's like,
Crazy.
but if you're relying on energetic information and you're like, okay, well, AI tells me that X, Y, and Z is happening astrologically or energetically. Can you check that? Are you able to ensure? Like, and to me, my energetic space is precious to me, and I don't want to be banking that on something that's like maybe.
I know. I know. I wouldn't use AI for that. I don't use AI for hardly anything unless it's to design my house. That's it. Give me some photo ideas. That's it. I would be scared because it's not perfect. I mean,
No,
the information it can get on AI, it's pulling from everywhere, so it doesn't mean it's actually correct. It's just
right.
acting as if it's correct. So it's a scary, AI is scary to me. It's a little too much. We're losing the human interaction more and more and more with our social media and with AI and everything's so technical, nobody wants to go shopping, everything's online. So it's just like we're losing it. And then with AI, everything's just so fake, like the imaging and like when businesses use it for food or for other things, it's like just do it yourself. Or looking up your charts or Googling or AI and stuff. And it's a scary world sometimes we live in where you still need an astrologer, you still need certain services that you can't get from AI. And it's like you can't AI everything. It just doesn't
Right.
work that well. So yeah, so if somebody wants to book with you and they can book, we want to go over all of your services, like what they can book, especially the kids one too. That's cool too.
Yeah,
And
that's
where can
fun.
they find you? Because she's not on social media. So
Yeah. I know I'm one of those rarities. So,
yeah.
I mean, I do have a personal Facebook page, but I just use it to keep in touch with, friends around the globe. And it's my chance to see people's vacation and cat pictures because those things make me happy. But as far as my business goes, my website is innerquestastrology.com. And it lists all kinds of information, the prices, my services, information about me, information about astrology, and then my email address is listed on there, but it's just hello@innerquestastrology.com, and I do everything just over email, as far as setting up appointments and just answering any questions. And of course, once that's established, we can talk on the phone if that's easier for people to set up that way. And then I can do in person if somebody lives around or near Greenville, South Carolina. Um, and I will actually be in Niantic, Connecticut at the end of August for about 10 days. So if anyone happens to be up there, I can do in person up there. But I also can do Zoom sessions. I'm doing more and more of those. And then also I'm open to festivals and wellness fairs and in-home events. Those are fun, intimate ways for people to delve into charts. Women's groups, coming into women's groups and allowing people to kind of unpack their charts with a group of friends. That has been really fun to do. I've been doing retreats, and so yeah, it's just all kinds of fun opportunities to just however people want to delve into astrology. I'm game because I love it
I
so much.
love it.
And so yeah, but yeah, so innerquestastrology.com, and then the email is hello@innerquestastrology.com, and I'm happy to chat with people.
Thank you so much, Dara. You have been such a pleasure, and it's been an honor to talk with you about your services, all your insight into astrology and cartography, and all the other offerings that you have. And I can't thank you enough for being here today. And
Thank you so much. It's been a joy to be able to spend this time with you and with your listeners.
it really is. And you guys go book a session with her. Go check it out. Go see her offerings. And I can't wait to hear about your sessions. And I'm going to book too. So I will be right there with you telling you about my experience too. So I hope everybody has a wonderful, beautiful day. And I will see everybody next time. And namaste.